Hello again, seekers. In this video, I would like to discuss a topic which rarely comes up in spiritual groups, yet it is the whole basis of human conflict. It is the reason for hatred and the separation of social groups. Plus, it is the only thing which separates those who are awakened and those who are not. This obvious, yet unrecognized reason I'm referring to is perception, because how we perceive the universe is how we are defined. Now, I'm not really a big fan of labels, because I like to think of us as all one, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to take a break on my no labels rule and go crazy. Now, people who are not awakened can only perceive the veil of the universe, only what's on the surface, what they can see, hear, feel, only what we can perceive with our 5 physical senses. The awakened, however, can perceive what the veil is covering, what is far beyond the surface, beyond the perception of our 5 physical senses, which can only be perceived through our 7 superior senses, aka the 7 chakras. See, when you can only perceive the veil, what's on the physical world, then your mentality and personality will be solely based around that. You're unable to feel the vibrant world underneath. And this is why the unawakened and awakened cannot truly understand each other. The awakened tend to be unable to understand why it's so important for someone to surround themselves with luxuries, such as elaborate homes, expensive cars, flashy jewelry. Just as the unawakened cannot understand why the awakened has no interest in such things. To the awakened, the life of luxury they seek is behind the veil, the home which we all come from, and the awakened wish to return to. There are multiple levels of perception beyond the awakened and unawakened. Like social statuses, people who are born into wealth have a vastly different perception than those who are born poor. Or like the difference between people with ambition, who believe that they can accomplish anything they put their minds to, and people who believe that no matter how hard you try, you'll never be successful because the odds will always be stacked against you. The same can be said for racism. Racist people tend to perceive ethnicities outside of their own as inferior and less evolved, or religious groups who perceive everyone who doesn't share their beliefs as evil people, who worship the devil while sacrificing babies in the middle of a blood orgy. Several factors that come into play for a person to adopt a certain perception. I also like to talk about one of the top factors which dictates someone's perception, which is emotion. People's perception tend to develop around emotions such as love and hate. They think more highly about things that bring them joy and look down upon things that don't, which in my opinion is a dangerous thing, because that's what can make a person egotistic and stubborn. A clear example of this is politics. Politicians play on people's emotions because that's the only thing that influences their perception. It doesn't matter whether or not voting for a certain politician works in the interests of their constituents. As long as they perceive the politician as good, then they will elect them. On the topic of emotions, an unawakened person has a limit on how much pain they can take. And when they've reached that limit, one of 2 things will happen. They'll either self-destruct or they'll awaken. Younger souls mostly tend to self-destruct, while older and stronger souls tend to have an awakening. But still, that has many variations for both kinds of souls. I would love to go more in depth about soul ages, but that's a topic all on its own. For now, all I'm trying to tell you is that the main difference between people that are awakened and unawakened is perception. Perception of the universe. Speaking of the universe, which is the next topic I like to touch base on, because, this video is about perception and the universe. It's very hard to simplify the significance of understanding the universe, and extremely hard for me to discuss its relationship to ourselves without writing a whole goddamn book about it. But this famous quote by the great philosopher Pythagoras does a pretty good job at placing it in a nutshell.
Man, know thyself, then thou shalt know the universe, and God. Pythagoras.
This quote, which I have always found interesting, yet never quite understood its true meaning until I completed my soul journey. It's why we study astrology. We look at the stars to find meaning behind our personal lives. Studying the universe and the movement of the planets can help us predict major life events and fluctuating emotions within ourselves. because the universe is a reflection of ourselves. Just as the tree of life maps the expansive universe, it also maps the micro-universe, the human soul. The tree of life has 7 layers, mapping the 7 chakras of the human soul and the 7 levels of the universe, each vibrating at a higher frequency than the last. Now, in my research, I found a hidden debate as to what level of the universe the physical world resides in. Some believe it's in the first level, but others, and through my personal experience, believe that it's actually the second level. The reason I believe this is because I believe that the level right before us is where the dark entities reside, which explains why low vibration makes us targets for them to latch on to. When we experience deep pain in our lives, or the overuse of substance such as drugs or alcohol, it lowers our vibration, therefore putting us on a lower level of the universe. Mainstream science would have you believe that what you're perceiving through these episodes are nothing more than false hallucinations brought on by a damaged brain. However, what is actually happening is that you've lowered your vibration so much that you're perceiving the lowest level of the universe, a dangerous level where the darker entities reside, looking for souls to latch themselves onto for a free ride up to the physical plane. Those who are able to open up their 7 chakras and use their 7 superior senses, they are able to perceive the level above the physical plane. These are the levels where our spirit guides and guardian angels reside. At the very highest level is spirit, or the cosmic consciousness, or God, or whichever you choose to call it. When we put ourselves into a meditative state in order to make contact with our spirit guides, what we are actually doing is temporarily raising our vibrations in order to perceive a higher level of the universe. This is where we are able to communicate with our guides. Some would actually say that the human soul has multiple levels, each residing on one of the 7 levels of the universe. And whenever we are changing our vibrations, all we're doing is shifting our consciousness to another level of our soul. Based on a personal experience I've had, I do believe that there may be some truth in this theory. But I suppose I've gone on long enough, and I'll have to save that for my future video on spiritual